Hi guys, welcome back to the next lesson. So in this lesson, we're going to output our to-do list. We're going to show the to-dos. We're going to get them basically out there as a visual. We'll add in the functionality in later lessons, but for now, we just need to output them and show them on the front end. So we've already covered all of our auth stuff. We can now log in. We can get to a dashboard page. On that dashboard page, we're going to create a new to-do component. We'll map through the to-dos with that to-do component. We're going to get to-dos from the global context, obviously. We're going to set them in the global context. Well, that's already being set in the global context. We're just going to make use of them from the global context. And we're going to output all of our to-do lists. So let's go back to our code. When I log in, I'm going to log in as test.com. We're taken to our dashboard component. Ignore the password things again. And on the side of our dashboard, now that we've logged in, I'm going to right click and I'm going to inspect. We go to network, not network, we're going to go to the React Dev tools. On our global context.provider, we can see in our value that we have our incomplete to-dos there. We haven't got any complete to-dos set. We've got an incomplete to-do there. I'm going to add a couple more in just via Postman. Where is our create? So we've got a post and we've got a new to-do here. Let's change that to, let's create a new one. I'm just creating a few so that we can output them. Walk the dog. Oh, I'm unauthorized, so I need to log in. So log in here on Postman. And I'm going to post, so walk the dog. I'm going to quickly copy that ID here. I'm going to set that as complete so that we've got some in the complete column. I didn't copy it. There we go. Copy that. I'm going to set that as complete. So we've got some complete ones to output. So that one's now complete. So we can output our complete list. And let's just say do homework as another. We're going to be clicking another to do there. Okay, so I've got a few to-dos. If I close this and then if I now refresh the page, that'll bring in the new to-dos because we're getting current user again. So we've got a dashboard page. I want to, from the global context, I'm going to make this smaller here quickly. From the global context, I also want to get complete to-dos and incomplete to-dos from the global context. So inside of our dashboard, I'm going to make a new div. We need to do some styling. I'm going to open up some round brackets, a div with a class name of dashboard, and then a div with a class name to-dos. And these are going to contain our to-do lists. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to map through the incomplete to-dos. .map. I'm going to output it as a to-do, so an arrow function with to-do. Some round brackets, note round brackets, not braced brackets. And I'm just going to, for now, output a h1. And I'm going to do the to-do inside the h1 to-do.content. So it'll map through our to-dos. We will get an error message saying we need to set, if I check the console, we'd have an error message saying everything in a map needs a unique key. So when we map through any list, we need to add a key and it needs to be unique. IDs are always unique, so the to-do ID is unique. So I'll just add the key of to-do there. So that's our incomplete to-dos. I also, that's one list. I want to make a new class name of to-dos. But I only want to output this if we have some complete to-dos. So this is where we're going to output complete to-dos. So if complete to-dos.length is more than 0, so if there are complete to-dos, we're going to output this new list. So I'm going to copy and paste this inside of there. Oh, and then I'm going to open up this div again. And then inside of there, I am going to map through complete to-dos. So complete to-dos.map to-do. So we're going to do exactly the same as I did up there. Round brackets, not square brackets, h1 with a key of to-do._id and to-do.content. And you can see this one, if I add in a title here, I'm going to add in a h2 with a class name of to-dos_title. And it's going to contain our complete to-dos there. So complete to-dos is going to be where our complete to-dos are output. So we're outputting these from the store already. So let's go to our styling. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. I'm going to do some styling for the dashboard. Oh, actually. So the dot dashboard, we'll open that up. Max width of 768 pixels. Incorrectly typed there. Margin of 0 to auto. A width of 100%. And a padding of 15 pixels. So you see now I've just got a nice container there. If I open up the page, it matches the container on the header. And then on the to-dos, I'm going to add a title. I'm going to do and__ title. Font size of 1.5 rem. And then a margin bottom of 15 pixels on our title there. Sorry, margin bottom. Don't want to margin all the way around it. And I'm going to do not round brackets last child. So if it's not the last child, the to-do list is going to have a margin bottom of 30 pixels. This is going to separate separated our complete to-dos, our incomplete to-dos and our complete to-dos there. So that's done some nice separation there for us. So we've got some basic styling. We now need, inside of our dashboard, I'm going to close off these. We want to make a new component, and it's going to be a to-do. It's going to be called to-do card. So we're going to make a reusable component to output our to-dos properly. So we need to import React from React. We're going to do const to-do card is equal to, and then we're going to destructure from props, and we're going to pass in a prop of to-do. So we're going to pass through the data to this. We're going to pass through data to this component. Return. For now, I'm just going to output a div with the class of to-do. And we're going to output, for now, we'll just output the to-do.content like we're currently doing above. And then we need to export default to-do card. Okay. So that's that. That's the first. That's the component created in its basic form. I'm going to go to the dashboard. I'm going to import this component from. So I'm going to import to-do card from to-do card, which is only one up. So dot/to-do card. And then instead of this h1 here, I'm going to remove that. I'm going to make a to-do card. I'm going to make use of that component as a prop. I'm going to pass through the to-do. So to-do is going to equal to-do. We still need to add a key, so the key is going to be to-do.id still. So now I've updated those. You can see it's using our new component. And I'm going to do exactly the same here. So I'm going to remove this h1. To-do card, pass in the to-do as a prop. And the key to-do._id as another prop there. So now all of our to-dos are using the to-do component. So now we need to style this up. So we've got our to-dos here. So what I need is a checkbox. So I'm going to have an input, and that type is going to be checkbox. So we're going to have a nice checkbox to show whether or not we've completed that to-do. Let's zoom in a little bit. We are then going to have our to-do content as a read-only input. So this was going to allow us to edit the to-do card if we ever want to do that. Well, we will want to do that in the next lessons. So it's going to be an input, but it's going to be like a hidden input. So the value of this input, not a hidden input, it's going to be a read-only input, sorry. So the value of this input is going to be equal to the to-do.content. So I'm going to remove this to-do.content here. And it's going to be, by default, it's going to be read-only. So a read-only input means that we can't modify the contents of this input. So by default, it's read-only. We are going to add some logic to this, so it's not always read-only. And I am going to add basically I'm going to make this, instead of having this as a set value, if we're editing the to-do, we want this to-do.content to be editable. Props are not mutatable. We cannot change a prop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the content to some React state. So content, set content equals react.useState, and it's going to have the default value of todo.content. So if when we do want to edit this, when we build that functionality in, we can do that because it's going to be it's now on the state. So the value is equal to content. And I'm also going to add another bit of state, which is going to be const square brackets editing, set editing, and that is going to be a Boolean. So by default, it's going to be false, but we're going to be able to trigger that. So read only. So it's going to be read only if we are not editing. And I also want to assign a ref to this input so that when we do start editing, I can automatically focus this input here. So what I'm going to do is const input equals react.useRef, and by default you set them to null, but I'm going to add a ref here onto the input with the value of input. So I'm now making use of that input. So I am going to add some controls to this as well. So I'm going to go make a new div of todo _ controls. And it's going to have some buttons in there. It's going to be stuff like edit and delete and save and cancel. So I'm going to start this up first, then we'll go back to some logic so it's not too confusing. So we're going to have some controls. They'll basically, we'll be able to edit our content, the content of our to-do, or we'll be able to delete our to-do with those controls. But it's hard to understand what's going on when it looks so disgusting. So to-do, we're going to target the to-do in our styling. So I've gone to main.css. It's going to have a display of flex, and there's going to be a lot of painful styling in this one. You are unfortunately going to have to focus for the checkbox stuff. It's a bit of a pain. So it's going to have we're going to align items center on our to-do. It's going to have a font size of 1.25 rem. And then we are going to do a background color of dark-light, $dark-light. We're going to have padding of 10 pixels and a border radius of 5 pixels. We'll style the checkbox in a minute. For now, we'll style the text box. So input and then square brackets type equals text in quotes. We're going to have a background color of transparent to make it look like it's a normal text element. Margin left of 10 pixels. Border of none. Font size of 1.125 rem. Color of $white. Flex grow of 1, so it takes up as much as it can of the flex box. And we are going to do and on focus, because at the moment you can still focus this and get the horrible border. We want an outline of none. So it just looks like normal text, but when we click edit, we'll be able to edit that text. And I'm going to add underneath this inside to do not colon a last child in round brackets. If it's not the last child, I'm going to add a margin bottom of 15 pixels. So we get some nice spacing there. Brilliant. Okay, so we've got the input done. We start up. I need to start up the controls. So and _ controls. Display. Those controls are going to have display of flex. We're going to make these buttons look like normal kind of text links. So they're going to be display block on the button. Padding of 0, background color, transparent, border of none, color of $white, font size of 1 rem, transition all 0.3 seconds, ease, and if it's not and colon not in round brackets a last child, so if it's not the last child, we're going to add a margin right of 10 pixels. Okay, so that's made them look like normal text. We're going to add a hover effect, so and hover, cursor, pointer, and opacity of 0.7. So now when I hover over these, they feel like normal buttons, which is really nice. I then want to style up these checkboxes because at the moment they're default checkboxes. We don't want that. So we are going to do, there's a bit of trickery here, CSS trickery, and it's a bit of a pain. but we'll do it nonetheless. So input of type equals checkbox. So in square brackets there, we're going to do dash webkit dash appearance none, appearance none, margin naught, font inherit, color current color in camel case, width 1.15 em, height 1.15 em, border 0.15 em, solid current color, border radius of 0.15 em, display of grid, and then place dash content center. So there we've got some nice styling there. We can't check them there. They still haven't got a nice check design to them. So below, input square brackets again, type equals checkbox yet again. We're going to do colon colon before and then open up our curly brackets. We're going to have content of empty string, width 0.65 em, height 0.65 em, and we're going to do a clip path. This is going to be a pain for you guys to copy, so I'll try and do it slowly. Clip dash path, polygon, rounded brackets, 14%, 44%, comma, 0, 65%, comma, 50%, space 100%, comma, 100%, 16%, comma, 80%, 0%, comma, 43%, 62%, comma. And that is painful. I'm sorry, guys, but that's a clip path to make a nice tick. Transform, scale, naught. Transform dash origin, bottom left. Transition 120 milliseconds. Transform ease dash in dash out. Box shadow, inset 1em $white, and then background dash color of canvas with a capital K, capital C, and capital text, capital T on the text. And then we need to do another block. Input type equals checkbox, colon checked, colon colon before, transform, scale 1. So that was painful, and I apologize for that, but it gives us these really nice checkboxes. Okay, so now the checkboxes are done, we can move, and the styling is done, we can move back on. I'm not sure, I'm just checking that I haven't forgot any styling. I believe that's the majority of it for now. So let's move back to our to-do card. So first of all, we want to add, in fact, it's not all of the styling we want to do. If this, so we want to make sure that the checkbox is checked. So checked is equal to whether or not it's complete. So to-do.complete. Oh, and you'll see that the complete ones now have a nice checkbox. But we also want to add a conditional class name on here. We want to add a class name, and we're going to cross out this text if it is complete. So class name, we're going to remove on the to-do, and we're going to put round brackets. I'm going to use template literals, so backticks to-do. We're going to put that one back in there, but we're going to do $ curly brackets. If to-do is complete, then add the class of to-do dash dash complete. Otherwise, just empty quotes. Let's hide that for now. So if we go back to our styling now, we scroll up to the top of .to-do. If it is complete, we want to add some special styling here. So if it is complete, we want to target the text input, and we want to do text decoration line dash through. There we go. So if it's a complete to-do, we get a nice line for it. I also want to do some conditional logic on the completed, on whether or not a to-do is completed. If it is completed, I don't want the option to edit. I think if it's completed, we should only be able to delete. So I'm going to do some conditional logic here. To-do.complete and. So if it is complete, if it is, I need to put an exclamation mark at the start. So if it is not complete, show the edit button. Otherwise, it's going to show nothing. So now it just shows the edit on the incomplete ones. I'm also going to do, so we now need to wire up this editing button. So I'm going to add an on-click event to this button called onEdit. So I need to create a function up here called const onEdit e. So a functional arrow with the event passed in. I'm going to then do e.prevent default. We need to tell this component that we're editing. So I need to do set editing to true. And I want to focus, as soon as we click the edit button, I want to focus this text element. So I'm going to do input.current.focus, and that will focus the input there. So if I click edit here, you'll see that it's basically focusing the input there. If I try and type now, because we've got a fixed value here of content, I'm trying to type, I can't type anything. So onside the value of our content, I need to add an onChange effect. So onChange equals, so onChange we're going to make into a function. I'm going to pass through e to the event, and then we're going to do set content e.target.value on the onChange event. So now if I click edit, I can then type. Brilliant. So when I'm also editing, I also want to change these buttons. I've got no way of saving or cancelling. So we're going to do some conditional logic here. So we're going to do some conditional logic saying if we are not editing, show these buttons below that we already have output. So I'm going to copy this. So if editing, show these buttons here. And we need to put some just empty arrows here. So an empty arrow here for a React fragment. We need to wrap them in a single div, basically a single container. So an empty React fragment there, that's just an open arrow and a closed arrow. And then this is the closing React fragment, which we want to put below our buttons. So something like that. And then, so if we are editing, I want to output some different buttons. So I'm going to do a React fragment again. And I'm going to do some different buttons. I'm going to do a button which says cancel, so we can cancel editing. And I also want a button that says save, so we can save the edit. And we'll basically do an API request when we click save to edit the content of the to-do. But for now, I'm going to add an on-click. We're going to do that later, but for now, I'll add an on-click to the cancel button. So on-click, we are going to call a function which is called stop editing. So I need to make a new function, const stop editing equals, I'm passing in e, and I want to do if e.prevent default, because I'm going to call this in multiple places, this stop editing, and there might not necessarily be e passed in. So if e is passed in, stop prevent default. We want to set editing to false, and we want to set the content, because we've cancelled, we want to set the content. If I've changed the content looks like this. It's going to look like a random string of stuff. We need to set the content, if we're cancelling editing, back to the default to-do.content. So let's try this out. So if I refresh the page, so we've got a fresh start there. Say I want to edit my to-do here. I can edit it. I can type something in, but I've decided I don't want my changes. I'm going to click cancel, and you'll see it will go back to the original one there. Type it in, cancel. Type it in, cancel. Cancel. So then we'll also be able to click save. We'll wire that up at some point. In the moment, it does absolutely nothing. So I think that's it for now. We're outputting the to-dos. We've got our completed to-dos and our incomplete to-dos. I think in the next video, we will, before we even look at adding extra functionality to the to-do, I'd quite like to work on creating new to-dos. Then we'll work on the extra functionality to delete them, mark them as complete, mark them as incomplete. But for now, I think we need to have a look at creating some to-dos. So I'll catch you in the next lesson, and I'll see you in a bit.